Ever catch yourself up late, browsing for leadership tips? Or maybe you've got that stack of management books on your nightstand, hoping for that magic solution.
Yeah, we've all been there.
And, amidst all those books, there's one that always stands out, The 1 Minute Manager.
It's amazing, right? Over 40 years, and it's still relevant, still
Mhm.
resonating with everyone from CEOs to, even parents trying to wrangle their kids.
Totally. There's something about its simplicity, its directness. It just clicks.
Absolutely. And that's what we're diving into today, uncovering those timeless secrets and seeing how they apply to your work, your leadership.
So, for anyone who hasn't cracked open this book yet, and no judgment if you haven't, it starts with a really interesting premise. Imagine you're on this quest to discover the secrets of a truly effective manager, this elusive 1 minute manager.
And here's the thing. He's surprisingly available, almost too available.
Right. It's like, wait, if this manager has all this free time, is he even getting any work done?
Exactly. And that question, that's where the intrigue lies. It makes you wonder, what's he doing differently that gives him this level of freedom?
And that's where the first secret comes in, 1 minute goal setting.
Hmm.
Now, before you picture micromanaging every tiny detail, it's actually the complete opposite.
It's more about clarity than control.
So, less about those massive spreadsheets with hundreds of tasks. Okay, now I'm intrigued.
Think of it this way. Imagine trying a bowl, right? But there's a sheet over the pins. You throw the ball, you hear the noise, but you have absolutely no idea what you accomplished.
Ugh, talk about frustrating.
Exactly. And that's what it's like working with unclear goals. You're putting in the effort, but you're in the dark about the impact.
That is such a good analogy, and I've definitely felt that way before. Like, am I even aiming at the right things here?
Right. Now imagine this. You and your team, from day one, you have a shared understanding of what success looks like. Everyone's on the same page, clear about their targets. That's the power of 1 minute goal setting.
Okay, so how does that actually work in practice?
It's all about being concise, laser-focused. Each goal is written down. But here's the key. On a single sheet of paper, no more than 250 words.
Wow, 250 words. That's pretty short.
Exactly. And that's intentional. It forces you to really prioritize, to distill down to what truly matters. Both the manager and the employee, they each have a copy.
So it keeps everyone accountable.
Exactly. Transparency and accountability right from the start.
It's like that 80-20 rule, right? Focusing on the 20% of goals that'll drive 80% of the results.
You got it. By defining those key goals up front, you eliminate ambiguity and you empower your team to really direct their energy where it matters most.
It's like giving everyone that clear line of sight from the get-go. They know what they're aiming for and how their work contributes to the bigger picture.
Right. And, while 1 minute goals set that stage for success, the second secret, it focuses on recognizing and nurturing that success.
Okay, so we're shifting gears from setting expectations to celebrating wins. I'm listening.
This is where the 1 minute manager gets really interesting. Think about how praise is usually handled in workplaces.
Often non-existent.
Right. Or it's safe for those dreaded annual reviews.
Oh, those reviews. Talk about the opposite of motivating.
Exactly. But the 1 minute manager, he flips the script. Instead of waiting to point out mistakes or saving compliments for later, he focuses on catching people doing things right, acknowledging those wins immediately.
I like where this is going. So it's about being present, observant, ready to celebrate those everyday successes.
You got it. And the praise, it's not just a generic good job. It's specific, it's genuine. Let's say you have a team member, Sarah. She consistently delivers exceptional work. Instead of a passing compliment, you take a minute, a literal minute, and say, Sarah, the way you presented those complex data points was incredibly clear, incredibly engaging. It really helped the team understand the project's progress.
Now, that is what I call meaningful feedback. It's specific, highlights the impact of their actions. It reinforces that positive behavior.
Exactly. And think about it. Wouldn't you be more motivated if you consistently receive that kind of genuine appreciation for your efforts?
Absolutely. It's so powerful. It's like that saying, what gets rewarded gets repeated.
Mm.
And it really makes you wonder, why don't we do this more often? It's like
Okay.
that old saying, you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Exactly.
So instead of waiting to zap someone when they mess up, why not catch them doing something well and really reinforce that positive behavior?
You've hit the nail on the head. It's about shifting from a reactive to a proactive approach. And, this idea of positive reinforcement, it's not just some trendy management fad. It's actually pretty fundamental. Think about animal training. You don't teach a whale to jump through a hoop by punishing it when it fails, right? You start with those small steps, you reward each success along the way, and you build up to that impressive final result.
That's a fantastic analogy, and it just shows, we often forget these basic principles of learning and motivation when it comes to how we interact with our colleagues.
It's so true. And that brings us to the third secret of the one-minute manager, one-minute reprimands.
Okay.
I know. The word reprimand, it doesn't exactly scream positive leadership.
It does sound a bit intimidating at first. Like, are we about to be sent to the principal's office or something?
Not at all. This isn't about being harsh or creating a culture of fear. It's about addressing mistakes in a way that's direct, that's respectful, and ultimately helps everyone learn and grow. The book calls it the tough and nice approach.
Tough and nice. I like that. Okay, so how does that actually play out in a real work setting? Because that feels like a delicate balance to strike.
You're right, it is. And this is where, honestly, a lot of managers stumble. They either avoid addressing issues altogether, letting resentment simmer beneath the surface, or they let their own emotions get the best of them, which can lead to, those counterproductive confrontations.
I've definitely witnessed both extremes. So how does the one-minute reprimand help us navigate those tricky waters?
It all starts with immediacy. Just like with one-minute praisings, feedback is most effective when it's delivered close to the event itself. Don't let those issues fester or build up into something bigger. Address them head on, but in a way that's constructive, not confrontational.
So no more storing up grievances for the annual performance review?
Exactly. Now, the tough part of the reprimand, this involves being very clear and specific about what went wrong, and, importantly, how it impacted you or the team. Not in an accusing way, but in a way that helps the person really understand the consequences of their actions.
And this is where things can get tricky, right? Because
Yeah.
it's about being honest and direct without making the person feel like they're personally being attacked.
You've hit the nail on the head. And that's why the nice part is so crucial. Because after you deliver that reprimand, you immediately, and I mean immediately, remind the person of their value. You reassure them that you believe in their abilities, that this one mistake doesn't define them.
So it's like saying, hey, that wasn't your best work, and here's why, but I still believe in you, and I believe in your ability to learn and grow from this.
Exactly. You're separating the person from the behavior. And, this approach, it's not just some random idea. It actually has roots in powerful techniques used in fields like, even addiction
Oh,
counseling.
really? That's really interesting.
Yeah. Think about interventions for people struggling with addiction. They involve confronting the individual about their harmful behavior and doing it very directly and honestly. But then crucially, reminding them of their worth, how much they're loved and supported. It's tough love in action.
That's a really powerful parallel, and it makes sense. It's about honesty, it's about respect, and it's about that fundamental belief in the person's capacity for change.
Exactly. And when you can approach leadership with that kind of mindset, it can make all the difference. It's about setting people up for success, recognizing their achievements, and addressing those mistakes in a way that allows for growth, allows for learning, without, crushing their spirit.
Okay, this is all starting to really click for me, but I have to ask, does all this one-minute stuff actually translate into tangible results? Like, at the end of the day, does it actually move the needle?
You're asking the million-dollar question. And the book actually tackles that head on. Remember how we were talking earlier about how available the one-minute manager seemed? Like, almost suspiciously available.
Right.
Well, as the story unfolds, we learn that his team, it consistently outperforms all the others.
Wow, are you serious? That's really impressive. So the book actually gives us concrete evidence that this stuff works.
It does. And get this, the one-minute manager's team, they often had older equipment, fewer resources than the other team. So it wasn't like they had all the advantages. It was about how he led, how he motivated his people.
Wow, that's a true testament to effective leadership. But I am curious, if his team is so good, how come he has such a high turnover rate? That doesn't sound like a good thing.
That is a really good question.
Yeah.
High turnover, it usually hits off alarm bells, doesn't it? Absolutely. But in this case, there's a bit of a delightful plot twist.
Oh.
She has a high turnover rate because his people are promoted so quickly.
Ah, okay.
They gain these valuable skills and experience under his guidance that they're highly sought after within the organization.
So it's not that people are leaving the company, they're just rapidly moving up the ranks. That's actually a brilliant indicator of success.
Precisely. And it really speaks to the long-term impact of this one-minute manager approach. It creates this virtuous cycle of clarity, achievement, growth. It benefits the individuals and the organization as a whole.
Okay. I'm convinced. The principles make sense, the results are tangible. But there's always that question of, how do I actually apply this to my life? Because let's face it, we're not all managing teams with, identical dynamics.
Absolutely. And that's where the real magic happens, taking these principles and tailoring them to your unique context. Remember, it's not just about like mimicking the actions. It's about understanding the why behind the what.
So not just going through the motions, but really embracing that underlying spirit. Like we might not all be, giving out literal pats on the back every 5 seconds, but what's the equivalent of that for our team, for our workplace?
Exactly. Maybe it's a handwritten note of appreciation. Maybe it's a personalized message acknowledging a specific contribution. Maybe it's just taking that extra minute to say a really heartfelt thank you during a team meeting. It's about finding what resonates with your team, with your leadership style.
And being open to experimentation, right? Because what works for one person might totally fall flat for another.
Absolutely. Being observant, being willing to adapt, fine-tune your approach as you go. The key is that consistent focus on clarity, immediate feedback, and that genuine care for your team's growth.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with this. What's one thing, just one, that you can take action on today based on everything we've talked about? What's one small step, even if it's just 1 minute, that you can take towards becoming a more effective leader?
It's a powerful question to consider, isn't it? It
Yeah.
could be as simple as writing down one clear goal for yourself or for a project.
Right.
It
Yeah.
could be, that idea of catching someone doing something right today and giving them that specific, genuine praise.
Or finally, having that tough conversation that you've been putting off, but approaching it with empathy and that focus on growth. Whatever it is, remember, even those small actions, when done consistently, they can create these incredible ripples of positive change.
So what will your 1 minute be?